And so he and so he has to now come and build himself to now become an active participant in the development or evolution of the law in Ghana. Because guess what? The law is not static. If we start thinking about the law as being static, it means that it will not develop to meet our needs as a society. It will be like pouring new wine into old wineskin and it will break. And that's why sometimes we come up with these situations where the law is not satisfying the needs of the current society we have. And so we have need to go to the Supreme Court, like Justice did, to have a more purposive interpretation of our laid down laws to make sense of the development or evolution of our society. So that's the kind of lawyer I'm looking for from the bench. That if we say a lawyer is a future ready lawyer, a lawyer who is open minded and ready to expand their horizon in order to contribute meaningfully to the evolution of law and practice in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, my lady. So I'll take Mr. Abdulai. Mr. Abdulai, if I can hear from you in this respect, please.
Yes, indeed, I am here. I don't know whether you can hear me adequately.
We can.
So the lady touched base on everything that needs to be said. And indeed, I can confirm that lady was my mate at the bar, and is my mate at the bar. And she's arguably one of the best, if you want to put it mildly. So from the, I don't know why you decided to make me an academic in this sphere, because I am more of a practitioner than an academic. But be that as it may, and you stress so much of me being a constitutional lawyer and all of that. And so I would like all of us to remember the case of Asari, is it 2-4 versus Attorney General, when the Supreme Court said that the Constitution indeed is a living organism. And being a living organism, it grows, it evolves. Now, if you want to be a future lawyer, if you want to be ready for the future, you should always remember this and adapt to changing circumstances. Because if the Constitution is growing and evolving, you cannot remain static, as Milady said. You would also have to change your dance in tune with the new trend of music. The best way you can do this is for you to be prepared. Be ready for it. You cannot do things as it used to be done 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The laws, new statutes are being passed. New laws from other Commonwealth countries are influencing our jurisprudence, and everything is changing almost on a daily basis. Just a couple of days ago, I think one of the political cases that involved a former, I think one of the former government expertise, we heard how the Supreme Court is almost changing the face of the law of evidence. And this happened just a week or two ago. About 3 years ago, or thereabout, 4 years ago, if some of you would remember the case of Kubaji, where the face of evidence, recorded, videos or audio or recorded messages, also had a different twist, unlike what we were used to in the past when it mattered not how evidence was obtained. Point being that considering the continuous changes of circumstances, we cannot remain lawyers with the very laws that we were taught whilst in law school and still expect to make the benefit of it after 10 years of being private practitioners. You need to evolve. You need to adapt to new circumstances and situations. You need to be prepared for anything in the future. The good part of our profession is that because you are a trained lawyer, there's a reason why we call ourselves learned. And the reason is because we are expected, part of the reason is because we are expected to know everything and anything. And so you are supposed to read wider. You are supposed to know everything that you are not even taught in law school. And these should be the motivating factors for you being a lawyer, not just because you know the text of the law or know where to find the text of the law. That is not what makes you a lawyer. As a matter of fact, if you went to the market, or sometimes you meet people in other professions, they know the laws regulating their spaces more than you do. You cannot even teach them the laws in their spaces. And so if you really want to be the best of them, if you want to beat them to their own rules, you have to be ready. Being ready is by learning to be ahead of everyone else. This is how I would expect a future, particularly a future practitioner, to be prepared. I mean, to put himself in that kind of situation, just so he can adapt and take the benefits of that future profession. Remember, unfortunately for us, we are in a different world. The different world is evolving, where now AI is taking over the entire spectrum of every single life. And so, for a Gen Z, you may be luckier that you may have it easy, surfing the net and being able to use AI to your advantage. But using AI to your advantage today is completely different from using AI to your advantage in a legal profession that is a challenging and even arguably going to have a completely different face, unlike what we know it today. So look at this from these angles and see how best you can adapt to the situation. That is what will distinguish you from a good lawyer from the future better lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you. So can we hear from Mr. Amoah now, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. So, I mean, having heard from her leadership and my senior justice, I'm wondering what exactly I'm going to say that makes a difference. But your question was just what comes to mind. So, I guess I would say what comes to my mind, no matter how it appears. So, really, when I hear a future-ready lawyer, I just think about the lawyer who knows what to expect in the future. So, the lawyer is not stuck in the happenings of today or what has happened in the past. And like they all indicated, as soon as you're done with law school, those are just the basics, really. You're done with law school, you become the lawyer. The kind of lawyer you become is really up to you. On the day when you are all called to the bar, you're all handed the opportunity to carve a life for yourself. You decide what you want to do with your career. Like we're all aware, so many people go into different areas in academia and public service, in private practice, in prosecutorial duties, in politics, among others. But while you are there, to be ready for the future, understand that first, the profession as you knew it when you were a law student, or as you know it as today, is going to change. So you should be ready to adapt to the changes that come along. Technology as we have it, and now there is artificial intelligence, as has been mentioned. It changes things rapidly. Right now, it is easier for people to know basic routine tasks. There are various softwares that would do the research, softwares that would do the contract reviews, softwares that will simplify the things that when you are a pupil, you should be doing. I understand that for most of us and in the law firms right now, we may not have been very abreast of them and using them as we should. But that's really what the future is going to be. There are going to be times when if you're a pupil and all you can do is research, you would be, sorry to say, almost useless to any law firm. Or all you can do is to just do basic contract review and check whether the law they cited was correct or not. You would be useless. So what it means is that you now have to look into the future and think about other things. What the machine may not be able to do is sometimes to humanize some of these things. What they may not be able to do is to think in a certain critical way and give you very bespoke advice. So like Justice said, you may need to understand the industry. The machine may also do that, but not in the manner where a human being who has taken the time to understand the procedure. So if you're advising a mining company, if you're advising a company that is in tech, you would have to now take the time, understand what they do, so that when you're advising them, you're not just telling them about the law says, the act says. No, you're telling them that these are the steps available. And the reason why I would advise you to do this is that it will make your business this way and that way. And in doing that, we understand that we are not breaching the law, we are complying. That just goes beyond you telling them the law does not allow this, the law does not. And then I also think that the future ready lawyer is one that understands that certain tasks may even be taken by other professions. Now, currently, tax advisory and even tax litigation, the big four, PwC, Ernst & Young, among others, they are trying to take over. So because the law is available to them easily. Maybe 10 years ago, they would not even know where to look. Now they really know where to look. And the procedures are simple. Over time, they wouldn't need a lawyer to wear a wig and gown to go and stand in front of the court. What they would have to do is just to submit all the relevant documents. Now, how do you become a game changer? You become a game changer when you master the things that they do. You understand the process and what they do, and then you add it. So now when they come to you that they are coming to look for a tax advisor and a lawyer who understands courtroom procedure, understands the philosophy of judges. So it is about a lawyer who understands that tech would come in, people would try to take over my job, but I would always remain relevant because I would continuously learn.
Okay, that's very insightful. Thank you, Mr. Amoah. So now I would want to find out how each of our panelists discovered your career pathway. What made you realize that this is it? Like, this is the path that I am meant to take for you to start working towards it? I'll start with my lady, please.
Oh, I think I even started speaking about it where I was in the biological science class in Legon for 2 years. And then I realized I felt like I was waking up in the wrong place in that moment, even though I was an all-rounder, and that's the problem with being an all-rounder. Some of you may have experienced it in your education because you're brilliant or you're smart, you're intelligent, you're able to understand many concepts. Everybody thinks that you should do one thing. And if you're not careful, you might be placed in a career that you didn't choose or it doesn't bring you fulfillment or joy. I'm not sure if those in the law school now, having written the entrance exam once, twice, 3 times, you're still uncertain about whether you want to be a lawyer. I'm sure by now everybody's certain about wanting to be a lawyer, but it didn't come easy for me. I was an all-rounder from basic school, primary school. So naturally, when you're an all-rounder in primary school, they say read science. Fine, it's not a problem. So I go read science. I do well enough to go to Legon to read biological science. But like I said, every day felt wrong, like I was in the wrong place. But fortunately, because my mother is an educationist, now she's retired. She was an educationist at the time, so she understood what I was going through, and she subjected me to a professional assessment to find out what I really would love to do, and it turned out to be law. So, well, even then I wasn't too sure because I had never met a lawyer at that point. I'd never met a lawyer. So I took a chance to go to KNUST and read law. After the first semester, I knew I was in the right place. It felt right. I understood things so easily without stress. And I was even able to do peer teaching my class. There's no single classmate of mine who won't confirm that I'm very generous with sharing the knowledge. So it felt right. Now, after law school, I started practicing at the bar. And with every day I went to court, I felt like there was more to do. I experienced certain peculiar cases that made the calling come even stronger. I used to work for FIDA Ghana and I used to work for Legal Aid. I don't know if there are some lawyers here who work for Legal Aid. Sometimes you take pro bono dockets and you do them pro bono for Legal Aid, and you should. If there are lawyers on this call, you should do that. And in one of those cases, I experienced something that made me feel like, the sense of justice, the justice of every case or a particular case, does not readily come to everybody. So for some people, it's a gift, it's a discernment. And I kept feeling like that. If I take any case, I can sense the justice of that case, not only from within me, but when you analyze the evidence, maybe it's the science background. It's very technical. You look at the evidence, you look at the standard of proof or burden of proof. Has it been discharged? And then you weigh the probative value of the evidence. When you weigh, shouldn't the justice of the case come readily to everybody? Some of the, well, from my perspective, with all due respect, some of the injustices I saw were the catalyst for me to ask a very important question of myself. If this comes easily to me, having looked at the evidence, having weighed the evidence, when I go on appeal, my submissions are upheld, my appeals are upheld, shouldn't I take a career path? Shouldn't I take a step towards that side? And my grandma of blessed memory, she used to be my confidant when it comes to these kind of decisions. So one day I just asked her, do you think I would make a good judge? She didn't go to school that much. I think after primary 2 or 3, she stopped to give birth and raise all of us. So I asked her, what do you think of me? Do you think you raised me? Do you think that I can be a good judge? And she recounted some of the incidences when I was growing up in school, how I would fight people who were being unfair and bullying other people in school, even as a girl in basic school, fight the boys and tell them you can't do this. You can't do this to the other child who is smaller in size, and you can't bully them, all sorts of things. So she recounted all this. I laughed about it, of course, but it confirmed to me that maybe there's something in there. There's a gift in there that I can harness and use it for the good of other people. After all, when it comes to the book, I can learn. Once you can learn, you can understand, apply the law, anybody can do it. But then if there's an added gift that you have, you are able to talk to people, resolve conflict. Your conflict resolution skills are good. You're able to resolve very complex conflicts. Then you should look at it. And I looked at it during Justice Georgina Wood's time. I applied, wrote the exams, passed the exams, and got elevated onto the district court as a magistrate. Subsequently, I find out that those skills come in very handy. I have not regretted taking the path because it wasn't just a calling. It's supported by the performance. You see, you can't just say you have a calling without the credentials. You have to know, Socrates, man, know thyself. If you know you cannot read the law that much, you cannot read the cases, you cannot assess things well, weigh evidence well, then don't just say you have a calling to be a judge. You have a calling to be a judge. No, you have to be able to do all that aside the calling. So that's how it came to me from my experience at the bar, watching seniors, other judges do the work and then assessing myself as well. That's how my calling came. Thank you.
Thank you. May we now hear from Mr. Abdulai, please? Mr. Abdulai? Okay, I'm happy to hear from Mr. Amoah if Mr. Abdulai is not ready to speak.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, my apologies.
Sure,
I was talking. I didn't know I was muted.
Okay,
so my point is that I did not have that level of elaborate experiences Milady had. Obviously, my background from Kumasi, no real role model, no one to talk to about career path or academic life and all of that. So I think, except for all those childhood experiences where people would harass you and call you, "What your lawyer pay?" and all those comments, because we'd always interrogate people and probe questions and improve people on matters of ordinary discussions. And so I think it became my decision to do law became more apparent sometime in the year 2005 or thereabout, when I was a student leader, SRC vice president of University of Ghana. At the time, I'm sure some of you might have met my colleagues Lom, Alija, and Justice Swemsai, Deputy Attorney General. So we were the student leader of University of Ghana at the time. And so, unfortunately for us, we were thrown into a lot of student litigation. And the student lawyers at the time who were on campus were the lawyers for the SRC contestant litigating parties and all of that. And we had a lot of and unfortunately, because you are a student leader, you always have to be in the courtroom to listen to the argument and what was going on, because you would be the implementer of the decision anyway. So you were compelled to be there. I think that is how all of us were revolutionized. And so the entire group, the entire student leadership at the time, all of us became lawyers. It wasn't by accident. It was purely based on the experiences that we had in that year, having to be confronted with series of litigations between contestants for those who were interested in succeeding our administration and among other people. So witnessing that, those events automatically influenced all of us. And so it didn't come by accident that the president, the vice president, the secretary, the deputy secretary, all of us became lawyers. I think the only person who didn't become a lawyer was the treasurer at the time. Almost all of us, including our other executive members, everybody literally today is a lawyer. So my story is from the experience midway in my life. And that is how all of us, we applied the same year. But the moment we left school, we all applied and we are here. And it hasn't been a bad decision. Some of you may grow up with role models, others will grow up with career advisors and all of that. However you end up where you are, I think the best is how you make the best out of the circumstances and the situation that you find yourself. That will rather define you. It will define who you are. It will define the impact you make on other people's lives. And that should be the basis of everything that you do. At the end of the day, let's remember, we are in this for our collective good as a nation.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, then finally, Mr. Amoah, then we'll delve into the next set of questions.
Right. So, for me, unlike maybe a lot of those my senior and then her leadership, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life. I was just going to school. Like, I just had to go to school. And then, like her leadership, I was doing quite well. So I was told that if you were doing well, you had to read science. So I read science. Nobody ever told me what I had to become. I think it was when I was reading science that it started feeding into my head the idea that I could be a doctor, I could be an engineer and all that. But I sincerely didn't know what I wanted to do until sometime in my second year. I went to Oga school. So in my second year, we have this tradition where old students will come around and there's a mentorship session. So they talk to us. There was one of the days they spoke to us about a lot of things. And then one medical doctor told us about his experiences and all he wanted to do. Unfortunately, I can't remember his name. I can't remember anything about him. But when he was done, I walked up to him and I told him that after listening to him, I think I'm on the wrong path. I sincerely don't think I want to do anything that has to do with all the science that I'm learning. And he laughed. But I continued and I asked him that, so if I stayed and I read science, could I decide, say, go and read law? That was just me giving an example of anything, whether it's possible to read science and then change your trajectory. And he was like, yes. He's found out that it's possible. Once you read science, you could go into most of the other areas, into business, into law, among others. So maybe I shouldn't worry. I should just stay focused. The next term, which was like, I think, third term in second year, I went to see my assistant headmaster academic, and I told him that I still want to change my course. And he told me that even if my parents came to see him, and he was allowed to, he would not do it, because at the end of the day, he's the one who has the power to make the decision. He would not do it because, so he pulled my results and he was showing me my results and comparing it with other people who were staying for the science and was telling me that, okay, so you are doing so well, why do you want to leave? You are not leaving. If you were not doing well, maybe I would consider it, but you're doing really well, so you are going to stay. So I stayed. And then, like the doctor had told me, I applied for science at both KNUST and University of Ghana. KNUST results, admissions, came first. So I had both schools, but KNUST admissions came first. And because I had issues about whether you could go or you won't go, because my parents were not happy, my mentors then, my siblings, all of them, they were not happy that I didn't want to read a science-related program. So when it came, I said, I want to go to school immediately, just so nobody changes their mind. So then I started KNUST, and that has just been the journey. I sincerely think that maybe law and something that has got to do with football, maybe football administration or something. Those are probably the only two things I can do because I'm really passion driven. And aside the law and stuff to do with football and maybe a bit of public service, I can't see myself being passionate about any other thing. So I just thought that is just how I had to go, and that is where I had to find. So I was just doing things as and when they come. So if anyone is here and they are confused and they even are not sure whether they are even at the right place, even at the law school, it's still not a problem. Just finish the law, become a lawyer. Luckily for you, when you're a lawyer, you can do anything with it. I think there can't be any profession that is comparable to the law. When you become a lawyer, you can become anything you dream of. So that's just me and where my path has led me to.
Thank you. I think this is very helpful because, I mean, for me, and I believe some other people on this call, even though I'm in law school and I hope to finish by next year, I'm still not very sure what the path after that should look like for me. So thanks for the encouragement that it's never too late and I can always figure it out. Okay, so now I would want us to discuss, so looking at our current educational system, what are some gaps that we see in legal education that does not necessarily prepare students to become future-ready lawyers, and how can a law student practically take steps to fill in those gaps so that when the future is here, they are already prepared? I'll take my lady on this one.
Oh, okay. You're always going to start with me. No. Okay. All right. So, if you've read my paper, Rethinking Legal Education, there's a paper online like that. I am an advocate against rote learning, memorization. Ladies first. Yeah, thank you. So I know that there's a huge gap. There's an abyss between the legal education and the practice. All of us who are practicing know that. In fact, it was after the call to the bar when we started working in the law firms that we realized we now have to learn. You now have to understand the CI, the civil procedure. You have to understand the criminal procedure from a practical perspective. So it confirmed one thing to us. The curriculum or whatever we were doing or we are doing at the law school is not meeting the industry's needs. And so some of us have taken it upon ourselves to start speaking on it. And one of the things I found lacking is the understanding, reading the law to understand. As of now, all students are concerned with is passing the bar. So it doesn't matter whether they understand what they are learning or not, as long as they pass the bar. So they are doing a lot of rote learning, memorization, chew, pass, and forget. Chew, pour, pass, and forget. And can you blame the law student? You can't blame the law student. If we are teaching the law in that manner and we are examining them in that manner, of course, they'll also find a way to pass. And if it means that they just have to recite the laws, they just have to memorize the provisions and then go and pour it out and then pass and be called to the bar, the whole fanfare, be called to the bar, then they'll do that. It's a survival mechanism. So now that we've identified the problem, and this is just one of the problems, there's a myriad of problems, and it's multifaceted. It's got many heads, and we'll have to deal with each of the heads. This is what I have identified, that lawyers are being called to the bar. When they come to the bench and they are practicing, you ask them to move a motion and they will tell you, they come with a senior. They follow the seniors. I mean, in the morning, they dress up with the gown and the wig and the collarettes and collar. It's very beautiful for them. So they just follow the seniors. They don't even read through the brief to prepare. And then they come to court with the seniors and they are not ready to do the work because they know that they don't have to, and they are not even prepared. They don't know how to do it. How do we bridge this gap? I know that the law school is doing their internships now. In fact, I've trained a lot of interns. Many of my interns are solid practitioners right now. One of them is the one that the Supreme Court, the entire courtroom, Supreme Court, gave a resounding round of applause for her submissions against the Attorney General a couple of years ago. And that training is something that we need to increase. We need to do more of it. The practical training of, if you go and read motions, applications, affidavits, what is it? You have to draft them yourself. And then you know how you are learning how to draft the affidavit in the law school. You are chewing how to draft an affidavit. If someone sat you down and explained to you that you don't have to memorize how to draft an affidavit, it's just a sworn statement of fact. They are sworn statements of fact. So you swear, and then you make the statement of facts in paragraphs. And your statement of facts comes from what you believe is the truth. And that's it. That's an affidavit. If they wake you up from theater, from surgery, you'll be able to draft an affidavit. But because you don't understand what an affidavit is, you think you have to chew how to draft an affidavit. So anyone I teach, any student I teach, I tell you, no, don't memorize how to draft an affidavit. Understand what an affidavit is. Understand what a lease is. Understand each process. What is a statement of claim? What's a statement of defense? What do you do? What is procedure? When someone sues your client and they bring you a writ and statement of claim, the question is, what do I do next? The procedure will show you what to do next, what to file. And that's all that there is to it, just to understand. Now, this understanding comes only after you are called to the bar, you start practicing in a law firm, a senior guides you. Why is the law school unable to give us this foundation? And that's the question I've been trying to answer. And that's why the first step I have taken is to throw light onto the fact that the memorization is not going to help us. Why is it that the law school cannot purchase in every batch, let's say part 1, when you are paying your part 1 school fees, there's a small amount in there for CI 47, Act 29, Act 30, NRCD 323, the flat versions, not the one that Assembly Press, publishes, those very flat versions. Now, in the exams, the school will give you these books, like the CI 47 as amended, the Act 30 as amended. So for civil procedure, you're going to write civil procedure. Then the school, when you sit down at your desks, the law school will come round with your CI 47. When you finish, you take it home. It's yours. You paid for it. You take it home when you finish writing your paper. Anytime you have to write, if you have to rewrite, you pay for it again in your, rewriting fees. You pay for it again. The school will always give it to you, not your own. So it makes me feel like starting the conversation from a shift away from rote learning is one of the best ways we can, bridge the gap between the law school and the industry, being the practice of law. And this is supported by the evidence of what happens in the courtroom. You don't appear as a lawyer before any court, any judge, and start reciting, per order 14 of CI 47, summary judgment. I mean, the judge is going to ask you, what on earth are you doing? Where are you reciting that from? The judge is going to ask you, where's your CI 47? Now we have digital ones on our phones, our tablets, our laptops, iPads. So you just pick and you are reading. Now, if the practice is that we are able to read, we are supposed to read the law, even cases. If you are quoting a particular judge's statement in a judgment, you will read it out. Now, if that is the practice, what is the sense in the rote learning in the law school? What is the sense in spending so much mental energy in memorizing garbage? Do you know why I call it garbage? Because laws are not static. Parliament is always changing the laws. They will amend, they will revoke. Now, a law that is subject to revocation, subject to amendment, why are we chewing it in the law school? How does this make sense? And why are we not evolved enough to know that it doesn't make sense to memorize something that is being changed every day in Parliament, and when we go to court, we are going to have to read it from the book? See, this is just one area of legal education I'm very passionate about. But I mean, the advocacy, I'm the only one saying it at this point. I don't know if the law school, the SRC president read that article, if they've made a submission to GLC, if they've even supported nothing. You still want to memorize. You still want to chew, pass, forget, and come to court and come and fumble before. If you come to court and come and fumble before me with something as simple as a motion, move a motion for a grant of letters of administration, you can be sure that I will really wet you like a chicken that morning. You will go back a changed person. You understand? So for me, we have to start changing it. But if the law school is not ready to adopt this, in New York, don't you write the New York bar with the statutes? You write the New York bar with the statutes. Maybe they think black people, we Ghanaians, we should still chew like, goats. We should be chewing statutes like goats. I don't know. I don't know how long it will take for us to recover from this colonial mentality. But I am praying that it will happen in my lifetime. And then, secondly, I pray that law students, when you are a law student, don't think that everything is perfect about the system. If you find something that you are evolved enough to, suggest better ways, come up with your suggestions. That is why when you become lawyers, you cannot add to the evolution of law. It's because you like towing the line. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to come up with evolved ideas. You're so scared of criticism. But the law is not static, and society is changing. Other jurisdictions have moved miles ahead of us. It takes you. Me, I'm an older person now, and I am still talking. But you, the younger people in the law school, what are you going to do about it? I leave that question to you. Thank you.
Wow, this has been like a lot to think about and ponder on. So thank you. That's a very, very extensive answer. And we would kindly meet. Okay, that's Justice Abdulai. Okay, please, do you want to add to this? Ms. Abdulai,
Yes, I'm here.
you want to add to this topic?
How can I add to what Milady has said? I think she said it all, except that as a teacher, I feel frustrated. For 15 years, I've been teaching at the university. And in other words, I started teaching whilst in law school. That was when I started teaching law. And for 10 years, I'll probably say that, for all these number of years, I have been teaching the past 15 years, yes. And my students will tell you that I go to the lecture room without any book to teach, whether constitutional law, whether commercial law, whether energy law, or any other course that I'm teaching. And then when you finish, particularly for the mature students, they would walk up to you completely mesmerized and asking, how did you do that? How do you always teach without anything? No course material, nothing. I've never been able to have any answer to that, except to tell them that, well, maybe because I've been doing it for some time. But right from day one that I started teaching it, I never used material. Perhaps the trick is that I prepare before I come to the class. And then when I come, I'm able to deliver extempore. So, point is that it is not different from you, the student. And Milady talks about this passionately when she says that elsewhere you're allowed to send your books to the exam room. It's not just in the US, in the UK and most part of the Western countries. All your statutes. In fact, for UK, you are even allowed to send your textbooks to the not just your statutes, textbooks. Allowed to send it to the exam room, if you want. But I think locally we also do something similar. We allow tax law. You're allowed to send your tax law. If Lady would remember, in our time, we had tax law. The statutes were with us, and that is because the university or the school admitted that indeed tax laws keep changing. In fact, the day you are taught tax law and the day you write your exam, you probably would have had about 5 different amendments. And so whatever your lecturer taught you would have been nonsense by the time you sit for your exam. And so, admittedly, I mean, we recognize this. I think we are just too stubborn to implement it, holistically. We are simply just stubborn people. We do recognize that there is nothing gameful about asking a student to chew these things. If you remember, milady, when we were taught by Supreme Court judges, as against being taught by some other lecturers, I wouldn't want to mention names, but for the Supreme Court judges, if you remember, Justice who was teaching us criminal procedure?
Justice Bedu.
Justice Bedu. Thank you. When Justice Bedu was teaching us criminal procedure, the whole thing was so simple, so easy, but one couldn't even believe that this is how things were supposed to be done. And the same way, when our main lecturer for civil procedure, at a point, had to make way for Justice Amoah and Mafosao to teach us election petitions. The difference was so clear. And they literally had to re-emphasize the point that this is a procedure being taught. And learning procedure, you don't need case law to know procedure. You didn't need case law. You didn't need to memorize all these foreign cases that define what a writ is. Why do you want to have a case law on what a writ is? What kind of, stuff like that, rubbish is that? Why do you need that? How is that even relevant to anything? Yet, if you remember our lecture then, we had 20 cases on what a writ is. Not how to even file a writ. What a writ is, more than 20 cases. And to go beyond that and talk about the address on the writ, we had more than 50 cases on why the need for addresses ought to exist. Now, just imagine you are being taught by this lecturer. How long would it take you to finish just writ of sermons? And so when the student doesn't chew all these, and that student fails civil procedure, you don't blame the student because he's been given over 200 cases only on writ. How does he survive? God being good, I think 2 or 3 years after we left, he also found a way of living. And students are now possibly, arguably better than it used to be. But the essential fact is that your advocacy is correct. And I support that in and out. I strongly urge that. I have never been an A student because, unfortunately for me, I don't even know how to do Baba. And so I always encourage my students, please don't aim for A, because I have never been an A student. And I have never been an A student because I don't know how to chew. Because if I chew, I cannot pour it out. And so I try to understand what I do. Unfortunately, our system doesn't like my style of studentship. Because once I'm unable to chew and reproduce what the lecturer wants, naturally it will mean that I'll have maybe a C if I'm lucky, a B. Because no lecturer would want to see that you understand. What the lecturer wants to see is that you can reproduce what he gave you. This is the misfortune that we find ourselves in. So the student is unfortunately compelled against his wishes to chew and reproduce rubbish. And depending on how his rubbish is, the lecturer may probably give him A or an F. Point is, we need to look at this holistically, from the teacher's perspective to the learner's angle. Sometimes I can understand why some universities would insist on PhDs being lecturers, because if you have a better PhD student who has done pedagogy, he will appreciate the need in engaging the student to appreciate what is being discussed, rather than giving him something that he has to chew and reproduce. And so it is a good advocacy that we need to support. It is something we all need to think about. Unfortunately for us, the very people we are talking to today would also, some of them become lecturers, and they would still insist on the same thing that we are asking all of us not to do, because they suffer to be where they are, and so they would want others to also suffer. And The other side of this coin is a lecturer giving you an F and boasting over it, that as for my class, nobody makes an A. And this is supposed to be a lecturer, an open-minded person. Someone has been educated, possibly 2 or 3 master's degrees, and his place of joy is to feel his paper. And he's somebody's father or somebody's mother or uncle or auntie. And he doesn't have the brains to think and realize that he is a failure by failing his students. And when I say these things in class, I become the odd one once again. I still never understand why you should take joy, delight in failing a student. It should be a reflection of how bad you are as a lecturer if a student fails. Of course, that's not to say that everybody should simply also just walk through. The person needs to meet the standards. So we all have roles to play in this. It's a collective thing that we need to do, but we do it also remembering that we are doing it to upgrade the standards, not to dilute it. We should remember that all the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdulai. I think that leaves us a lot to think about and ponder over to. Thank you. Now I would want us to discuss when we come from the law school into corporate practice. So I want Mr. Amoah to take this one. So I'm sure in your position as lead for litigation, you happen to work with young associates and fresh lawyers out of school. So what new skills do you expect from junior associate entering top tier firms like yours? And in the work that you've been doing with young lawyers so far, what traits do you see in younger lawyers that makes you know that this signals long-term leadership potential? What does long-term leadership potential look to you on a young lawyer coming out of school?
Right. I think that, like they have said, in most occasions, we are tempted to believe that if somebody can learn by rote or somebody can memorize everything that they are given, that makes them a good student. While that is wrong, that is what we've come to accept. But at the very least, the joy is that when you come out and you start practice, now the reality would make you understand how wrong that is. Because you would have an instance where somebody is exceptionally good academically with the A's and all that. Now you start asking them critical questions. You start asking them to do something. You start asking them to Hello, can you hear me?
You went off briefly, but now I can hear you.
Okay, I think I have a problem so let me turn off my camera with your permission to see that. Right. Okay, so I would say that once they come out and they start working, usually as pupil in our system, you would ask them a few questions. You sometimes maybe ask them something like, okay, so we need to confirm something from the registry of the court. So that means that they need to draft a search, for instance. And then you would realize that this exceptional student doesn't even know what kind of questions to be asking. You would explain to them that this is what has happened, this is what we filed, this is what we did, and we need to confirm this and you would realize that they have no idea and you start wondering, but you had an A in civil procedure, which really takes us back to the point that they may not have understood what they were doing. They got some precedents, committed them to memory. Maybe they have photographic memory, as some people like to say, and then they just gave everything out, passed the exams exceptionally, and then came out. So now the point becomes that if you get a new pupil, a new associate, new lawyer, you would want to know that can this person craft ideas on their own? How ingenious are they? How creative are they? How are they able to really think critically so that when you ask them, I mean, even till now, you can go to some pages and then you see someone asking a question like, I need a precedent for a certiorari in a Supreme Court. And I'm like, okay, go to the rules and read them. Once you know how to draft an affidavit and you should go to the rules and know what the rules are saying. And from that, you should be creative enough to couch it. But no, this person just committed everything that they know to memory. So now that they have to look at a very practical situation and decide to ask the court to quash a decision or to prohibit a judge and all that, they don't even know where to start from. So that is really the problem. And like my seniors have said, it just makes you understand that we are not doing certain things right at the law school, and that brings you in. Another thing you're going to realize is that maybe our law school is also too much dispute or litigation focused. People are learning the CI, they're learning the criminal procedure, they are learning all other things. That means they are going to be dispute lawyers. Now, to be a very good dispute lawyer, even for that, there are some basics you should understand. If your company law is not good, if your contract law is not good, if your critical understanding of issues is not good, you would not be a good dispute lawyer. You would just be there quoting cases and citing rules and what have you. And then when the real issues are put before you, you'd realize that this person doesn't even appreciate basic things that they should do. So the other thing is that because we focus too much on corporate litigation practice, when people have to, so I do disputes, but I find myself working so many times with companies. So that means that I need to understand the systems. I need to understand how corporate work operates, how shareholding is, how tax is, and all that thing. So you combine a lot of these things. Now, when you are just used to saying that the law says, the law is that, if it is this, if it is this, you just see that it's like you have very little use. So that the new lawyer that is coming, aside the unfortunate situation they may find themselves in the law school, they should be willing to understand what they read. So yes, the law school would make you think that just learn by rote, but you should dedicate time to understand what you're reading and to be able to appreciate the fact that when you are coming to apply it practically, it goes beyond just knowing it off it. Like my seniors have said and her ladyship have said, in all other places, you are going to be given the CI. So that CI you have committed to memory, there's very little difference between you and the person who hasn't committed it to memory, because the person who hasn't committed it to memory would still look at it anyways. When they appear before the judges, the judge will point them to it. The judge will not ask them to recite it. So I think that aspect of we appreciating it and being willing, that's even aside all the things, you've been willing to adapt and to learn. So you understand that you need to learn. You shouldn't be stuck in your ways and think that after knowing the cases, after that's it. Be willing to learn and be willing to appreciate. And so we are successful in trying to change things, in ensuring that now we give people the laws, we give them the cases, and they apply it and don't have to commit it to memory. When you're coming out, you should understand that there's a lot you have to change. Sometimes even how you write, like you read something someone has written and it's like, okay, you don't want anybody else to understand what you've written, and that shows that you are learned and you're a lawyer. No, you're communicating with other human beings. So that sometimes we are tempted to think that because you write that to the court and to the judges, if you meet all these big corporations, the chief executive wants you to communicate to them, like a human being. So when you're using certain expressions, saying them in a certain obscure way, they don't get it and they don't appreciate your services. So those are the things that people need to learn, communicate. It's not using all those things to bamboozle. The chief executive doesn't want to be bamboozled. They want to understand that the steps that they are taking in a year, in 2 years, it would help their company upskill. So those are the things that we could be looking at in practice, and which all of us who are in practice would want to see when new lawyers come out.
Okay, thank you so much.
Just to add to that, just in a second.
Sure, that's fine.
So for the past 2 years, the peoples who come to our office, maybe without giving timelines, just peoples generally, so that you guys don't have to guess and know the persons I'm talking about. If you give the person a motion to respond, usually when you come to our chambers, that's the first thing we do. I'll just give you a motion, just respond. I don't tell you exactly what to do. Just respond. That's quite vague enough. If you're a lawyer, having been called to the bar, went to the law school, you should understand what it means to respond to emotion. Sometimes 2 weeks, and you'll be sitting there. The next time you call the person to find out where the response is, he has still not been able to put even one word, not even one sentence together. And then I go to the next step of the questions, of the training. You give the person the background of the application and ask the person, respond. What would be your best response to this application? Now, I keep using the word respond because I don't want to tell you that you need to draft either an affidavit, which is likely to be the case if it is a motion, and then possibly comes with a additional, if it is depending on the kind of affidavit, it may be a statement of case or something like that. And so, consistently, what I have discovered in our chamber is that nobody has been able to do this. And everyone tells you that because he wasn't taught. Yes, we all know that you were taught this in the law school. There is no way you go to the law school and do civil procedure without doing affidavit. It's not possible. Sometimes you're even giving samples of it to go learn. And I don't even know why you are giving samples. Because it makes no sense. As ladies pointed out earlier, this is simply supposed to be facts that you are swearing to. And so, maybe, yes, it has a particular format, admittedly, and the rules dictate the format that it should follow. Beyond the citations up, everything else is a standard practice. The content is what you are adding. And so it makes no sense to be given a sample when you have been taught how it's supposed to be and you know how it's supposed to look like. But nobody's able to do this. Yes, they were in law school. Some of them even had awards in civil procedure. Others were arguably the best of their group, their group members. They were the leaders of their groups. And so without them, the group work doesn't go on. Yet, this person cannot respond to a simple affidavit, a simple motion. This is to point out how dangerous it is for those of us in practice, the kind of people we are meeting, the kind of people that are being churned out by the law school. And I have no doubt that it will never end with us. A lot more people are going through all these things. So when Danso says that you should learn, when Milady says that you should adapt, I would encourage you, go beyond those two. Know exactly what you're learning. Don't just learn. And when you're adapting, know where you are adapting to. Because perhaps in our firm, we may accept you, maybe because we are kind enough to train you and then leave you to go. But other people would want to see the quality you are bringing to the table before they accept you. Someone else, because of the dangers, now there are so many law students coming out. So some people are more interested in the quality they are accepting to their firms. Others would only want to help so that you can get your licenses. Go and kill whoever you want to kill with your legal practice. Because remember, the moment you get your license, you are literally being given a certificate to murder people, to imprison people, and to do all kinds of things to people, and maybe people's property and all of that. So you go and say something nonsense, and then Milady will sit here and then put the person in custody, for a number of years because of your stupidity, Taflache. Because you didn't do something that you ought to have done right. Somebody will lose his entire estate because you didn't do the fundamentals. You failed to learn, not because the person is wrong, but because you did not learn what you were supposed to have learned. So most of us are losing our property, are losing our lives, are losing our rights because of the incidents of bad lawyers. And that incident of bad lawyer starts right from the moment of training to the day they step out. So let's remember, as we are learning, we are doing it for our own selves, for our family members, to put food on the table, but ultimately to ensure that the person that we call our client gets the best of services. Unfortunately for us, we don't advertise, unlike in the US and other jurisdictions where lawyers are allowed to advertise. Here, nobody advertises. So The client takes his victim as he finds him. He comes to you whether you're a good lawyer or a bad lawyer. That's what he has. That is a burden our society is confronted with. We must be able to discharge these burden and do it such that everyone else benefits from our services. And this is the little I wanted to add to what that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, now I would go back to my lady. So, my lady, I know you're a prolific writer. You mentioned your article on rethinking rote memorization. I've also seen an article on sex toys. Then there's one on Ghana's rape laws. You write on very interesting topics. So
Yeah.
my question is, if there are people listening to this call right now who also want to establish themselves in that space, they also want to make write-ups, but write-ups with substance, not just because they want to write. How do you start? How do you enter that space and make sure that whatever you are putting out is good and has substance?
Before I answer your question, there's a question in the chat box that has caught my attention. He said, I'm glad all speakers are advocating for GSL to move from chewing and pouring, but why do they want interns to reinvent the wheel? Interns to reinvent the wheel when there are precedents to guide them in the law firm. This is from someone called Alex Boateng. Now, it is not a matter of reinventing the wheel. Now, these precedents you are speaking about, precedents in law firms, who established the precedent? Who wrote the precedent down on some computer in the law firm there? Is it not somebody who was just as, unsure as you are, who also wrote those things and left them at the law firm? I found out when I started practicing as a pupil and as a young lawyer that most of the things that are in the law firms as precedent, statement of claim, statement of defense, affidavit, come to think of it, you can draft better ones. And indeed, that is what the owners of the law firms, the partners and the administrators, that's what they've come to discover as well, that the beautiful ones are not yet born. Those of you coming out of the law school now may even have better ideas about pleadings. So that's why they ask you to do your own. When justice gives you a file and says, respond to this, he wants to know what you're bringing, not come and, reproduce something that's already in their law firm and they already have problems with. Those things in the law firms, the precedents you call them, they are fraught with the weaknesses and vulnerabilities of the people who left them there. You do not think that your seniors, let me tell you, with all due respect to all seniors, including myself, never as a law student or as a fresh lawyer, as a young lawyer, never think that those ahead of you, all of us, me included, ahead of you, we are better than you. We are not. The only difference between you and us is time and experience. You are as intelligent as you will be 10 years from now. The only addition is experience and time. And so don't think that when you come to a law firm and they say, do your own, go and respond to, a process. You want to go and look on some precedent that's sitting there and is 10 years old and doesn't have the new laws in it. No, please. Don't do that. Don't sell yourself short. Whenever you are asked to reinvent the wheel, in quotes, please reinvent it, decorate it, add rainbow ribbons and everything. Do everything to it. That is your purpose. You are the evolved version. How can you compare? What phones are you using? The iPhone, the newest one is what? Is it 17 Pro Max or something? I don't use iPhone. I'm a Samsung girl. I use 17 Pro Max. I'm using a Z Fold 7. Samsung Z Fold 7. So how can I compare Z Fold 7 to Nokia? Nokia may be strong. Nokia 3310. I'm talking about Nokia 3310. It may be strong and hardy, and if you hit it on the ground, it won't break and all that. But the sort of things the Z Fold 7 or iPhone 17 Pro Max can do with data, the Nokia 33, it can't do it. So I really wish that you will stop selling yourself short and want to rely on precedents that are 2 years old and 10 years old. That we'll come back to that. Now, back to Otenewea's question. When it comes to writing, if you've really paid attention, I only started writing recently. I had a long period of inactivity due to life. Life just happened to me. Ill health, immobilization, and I was literally fighting for my life. So I didn't come into the writing field very early. Within the past year, that's when I can say that I started really exploring that aspect of myself. And it's because when you are in that space, when the time is right, nobody will tell you to start exploring other aspects of your life. So it means that what I'm saying is that even those of you who feel like I can't write, I may not be able to write like this other person, all you have to do is to write your first paper. And one of the ways that you discover your writing skills is by going to school. You go to school, especially schools that don't make you write LLMs. They don't make you write exams. What you write are papers. You write reaction papers. You react to certain articles and papers you've read. Now, those things will develop your writing skills. A friend of mine, she's a lecturer at the Ghana School of Law, UPSA Campus. Those who are in UPSA Campus and are on this call, you know her. She's lawyer Bakita Koblavi. Her husband is Koblavi. She teaches ADR. Now, I asked her why she wasn't writing, because I know she can write. I've read something she's written before. And she said, oh, there's nothing to write about. She can't think of anything at the moment. And I said, okay, go to school. Go back to school this year. I'll send you the forms. You fill the form and do this particular course because I know it's linked with your course. Do that course. Now, after the first month, I'll ask you again to write a paper. Lo and behold, this lady she's got so many papers on her laptop right now. She doesn't know which one to send to the publishers. And so schooling is one of the ways. You have to do your LLM in a school that doesn't make you sit down and write 10 paper, exam. You have to think outside the box. You read someone's article, you read someone's paper, about 3, 4, 5 papers from different writers, a variety of writers, and then you ask yourself, what is your opinion? You join in the conversation, drop your opinion, and walk away. We can never finish talking about anything. In writing, we can never finish talking about it. What I have written on sex toys, right? Somebody can write something more about it. What I've written about rape, someone can write more. Someone will write more. The conversation is endless. And that is the thing with writing. So when it comes to writing, I can't tell you that, oh, you have the skill or you don't have the skill. This is how to develop it. Nobody can tell. You just have to try. Jump right into it. Throw yourself off the cliff. Try your hands at it. You will see hidden talents in there. After all, it's just a conversation. The law is there. You are analyzing it and you are using English. Are you not using English? Don't you know how to write English? The boy is going to school. Write it and then put it out there. Let people criticize you. Give it to your peers to review for you. If they criticize you, you get better. Sometimes I look back at what I wrote in 2023 and I laugh because today I would do better. And you should allow yourself to grow and evolve. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Those of you who are interested in writing, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Laugh at your mistakes. When you see your previous writing, laugh about it. Say, hey, I've grown. Oh. Last 2 years, this is the nonsense I was writing. But this year, I'm better. And next 2 years, when you read what you wrote this year, you will laugh again. Because that's human nature. You keep evolving. So I'll encourage you. I see law student writing. They are published on the law platform, Super Law. I see it and I'm very happy because now we have fearless people who are not afraid of criticism. They are not afraid to even criticize, they are not afraid to criticize our Supreme Court. The future is exciting because you guys are in it. I love what I'm seeing and I want to see more of it. More of you should write. Collaborate with some of the judges you know who write, like myself. Collaborate with me. Let's write a paper together. You see, as for the law, there are many aspects to write about. Me, I have a very colorful mind. So there are many things in my head that I would love to write about. And I want some of you to come up with the ideas. There's one particular student who is supposed to write a paper with me and we haven't finished. I wrote one with another student some time back. Listen, The world is your playing ground. It is your canvas. Don't be afraid to paint. Paint, write, do whatever you want to do. Don't be afraid. You don't have all wisdom in your head, do you? You're only doing your best. So don't be afraid of doing your best. Anybody who is not happy about it, don't mind them. They can bucket and bath. You Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Eh? You know, assuming justice did not go to the Supreme Court, or I did not write about legal education. So we just try. Try. You too, you have a contribution to make. So don't be afraid. I want to see more writing. Okay? Otenewaa, I hope that answers your question.
That answers my question. Please, I'll be sending in a request to humbly collaborate with you on a paper soon. So please be expecting it. Okay, so now I would like to come to you, Mr. Abdulai. So you've built a reputation for public interest advocacy and civic engagement. How can law students and upcoming lawyers who seek to enter the space do so responsibly, given that such issues can sometimes be politically sensitive?
Well, sorry, I don't know whether you can hear me. I can say with all the confidence in me that it is not a joke, but when it is so political and it has the potential of dividing the nation. If you ask me what I would like to go through, what I went through, Supreme Court case, trust me, I'll be hesitant to say yes because the experiences were not palatable. The political twist, the attacks. In fact, I remember meeting my colleague at the bar, that is the former Attorney General, who looked at me in the face and told me, "Hey, you are very bold." Now, that comment alone was the most scariest thing I had ever encountered throughout that period of my life. Then family members will start calling. Hey, yes, what the Kufuor court. I mean, that's how they interpreted it back home. That I was fighting the Kufuor, and that others were asking, "Why aren't you even an MPP? Aren't you this? Aren't you that?" And so the attacks, the scary moments, are real. But I think maybe it helped shape my next move. So the very next year, my next case was against EcoBank. Reported as it is, and one, it's also one of its kind on the dishonoring of checks and how it impacts what's it called? So for me, these were, as Milady puts, these were passions. This case, Jazab Life versus EcoBank, was a case that involved the dishonoring of checks, right, as I said earlier, and how it amounts to defamation and also a breach of contract. Banking, the contract between a customer and a banker. Unfortunately, after the Court of Appeal decision, I decided to focus on other things. And someone else relied on that same authority, went to the Supreme Court, and won a lot of money. I didn't get a lot of money. I did get something out of it, but that was not the focus. The focus is on building the law. As I was saying, my motivation was that as a lecturer of commercial law, having told students that if your check is dishonored, it could be defamatory, and it could also amount to a breach of the contract between you and your banker. I had a personal experience of this, and the only thing that my banker would do was at the time to plead with me to let go. And what could be a better example than to tell the students that everything I've been teaching them is real, and that the law, as someone puts it, is indeed a law, and so you can activate the law in your favor, or just to maybe lay down a precedent. And I think there had been an earlier precedent before mine But it was a high court decision, so it wasn't popular. And mine went to the Court of Appeal. And then I think just last year, somebody, was it this year, early this year or late last year, another person went to the Supreme Court on the same subject. And the Supreme Court vindicated my position on this subject. And so my point is that it has to be by your interest in these areas. If you really want to do this, if you want to impact, you need to be able to to be self-motivated to do this, because there's a lot of money, first off. Second, you'll be attacked depending on which angle you take this from. You'll be attacked, you could be victimized, you could be a subject of ridicule, among other things. But if you are driven by your own self-interest, motivation, I think you do better. And I am encouraged to do more of these, except for for time, I'm sure. So, for instance, one of the cases that he mentioned versus Attorney General, Attorney General, in respect of the appointment of a second deputy, or deputy IGP. There are a number of these ones that I have done that it's difficult to pursue everything because of time and money and all of that. But I strongly encourage that if you really want to make impact beyond being practitioners, beyond beyond chasing the next meal and all of that, this is another area that we can look at. If you cannot write, and this will be a good area, but this area involves a lot more writing and a lot more ingenuity, because researching on the law, writing your statement of cases and all of that, particularly at the Supreme Court level, involves so much. And so if you cannot write in the academic space, perhaps having been trained as a lawyer, this is an open door for you that can also be used to impact society and reshape the law for our collective good. I believe I have said enough, considering that I'm in the car. So maybe we can give the rest to my colleague. My friend also is still on the line. So,
Mr. Danso, would you want to take a go at this question? If not, I'm happy to move on to the next question, please.
I think you should move on.
Okay.
I don't have the experience of doing a lot of this, so I wouldn't want to speak to it.
Okay. Then I'll move on to the next question. So, Mr. Danzo, my question to you is, how can an upcoming lawyer cultivate ethical leadership alongside professional excellence? Because in the world that we are in today, and with the whole Gen Z culture, there's a tendency to look for shortcuts and the easy way out of stuff. How do you cultivate ethical leadership and make sure that in your work you are sticking for what's right and what's true and not necessarily what's easy?
Right, thank you. Before I answer your question, so that it makes it very easy for you, you can just call me Danso. So because I'm not Mr. Danso, so just call me Danso. It's okay.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Right,
Amoah.
no problem. So, to your question, it's not easy, like you said, to be ethical and also ensure that you're excellent. It's not an easy thing. But what for me should be the headline of everything is that you should make sure that in your practice you are guided strictly by your conscience. And if you're a Christian, as I am, you will just make sure that the dictates of the Bible and the Holy Spirit guides you. For a lot of us, and even for those who are not Christian or even not believers, when you're doing something and it is wrong, you know. Or if it is not so right, those kind of issues that you cannot, like you just know that this doesn't look right or this doesn't appear right. So I like to look at ethics from that angle. Sometimes, yes, we need to learn them in the law school. They will teach you in advocacy and all that. You're going to learn, don't represent interest that is against your client's interest. Don't do this. You would sort of sit down and there's a lot of rules that you may want to think about. But bottom line, when you're doing the thing, like when you are advising the client to enter into a certain transaction, when you are trying to take over a certain brief, when you are representing a certain interest, you know, as a lawyer, once you read the brief or you take the instructions, you generally understand what is required of you. And just by that alone, you'll be able to tell whether this looks like it's bad or not. So I like to look at it from that angle. The other way too is where you get to that point where you are not sure, or where even though you're posting, you don't know how to go about it. You consult. We have had an instance in a law firm where we've asked another lawyer to write a brief on what they thought about a situation where we thought could raise ethical issues, so that the lawyer and we're willing to pay them. So that I'm not saying go around asking, but there are always friends who may not even take anything from you. The reason you may do that is that they would look at the thing from a very dispassionate angle. They don't have any attachment to it. It is not a client they've been represented. There are no interests that they are going to gain. They are only looking at it and telling you that we think this is not ethical, so don't do it. I think when you look at it like that, and always be willing to listen to criticism and the opinions of others. And it's easy. It's very easy. We try to not let our emotions get in the way, among other things. But it's very easy. So for a client who, for instance, you've been representing for a number of years, they probably give you your biggest brief ever. When they bring you a certain brief, you are likely to think that, oh no, maybe if this is not this way, I can still do. But when you give it to somebody who has nothing to win or lose, they are likely to look at it and tell you the transactions, the corporate advice. There are really instances where they would come to you and say, can't we do it this way? They're actually clients. And if you get the opportunity to work with the really huge companies, they can come to you and say that this is the position we have taken. We need a justification. And such a justification, obviously, is going to come with something huge. It just means that you need to be really careful. You need to look at it well and examine your conscience. If you are set in your mind that the law and everything else is against them, look at it. Don't be persuaded by all those things. And we shouldn't be in a rush to think that we want to get everything in one day. I mean, sometimes you look at people and you just wonder, okay, where exactly are they going? They have no foundation. They don't want to build anything. They don't want to work hard for anything. They just want to start making money. Of course, you may just make the money, but we've seen you rather would want to have an enduring legacy. And you can only have that if you are looking at things long term. That brief you're taking today, which you think is going to give you 500,000 CDs or whatever, are you sure that in 5 years, if this is the biggest thing you ever get, you'll be okay with it? Look at all those things. And that is why you can find instances where there are lawyers who right from the beginning started making some money. 10 years later, they're just making that same money. And then there are those who built it, understood the route, went through it. And then now you'd see that over the years, they have built something that you know that it could only have taken years of practice, years of experience, years of learning, years of hard work. So that's just how I want to look at issues when it comes to ethics. Look at it, your conscience, the Bible, the Holy Spirit. Let it guide you. Try and understand. When you are in conflict, there are even instances where there are issues that come up and then you just have to pray about it, because maybe you also don't want to lose a client or anything. Pray about it. And one last thing, the client that you're going to tell them to do something today, that it feels so good because they are willing to pay so much, in a year or two, they may not be on that same side as you. They may not be the one asking you to represent them in the transaction. They are going to tell the other lawyers, or they are going to tell the other people on the other side that this lawyer is crooked. This lawyer, if you give him money, he will do anything. He will cut corners. And that is when now you would see that whatever you did for them was not worth it.
Hello, Danso.
I am done. I ended on that note.
Okay, okay. That's a very good admonition. I believe myself and all others on the call have learned from it. So we'll be wrapping up shortly, but I have this question about how to stay emotionally grounded in such a tough legal ecosystem, because we also know that when we come out of law school now, there's very limited slots for pupils, and we know that not every firm pays well. So considering that even for the few
But
firms
that's
that
not the only answer in law. Okay, a big law question. Normally, there's no wrong answer. Depending.
Considering that the very few firms that are actually able to pay well have very few slots, how do you stay motivated when you are in practice? You just started, there's very little compensation, there's long working hours, you are drained constantly, but you still need to get the drive to keep going. How do you stay motivated and keep going? I would open this, but I would like to hear from my lady if she's open to answering.
Okay,
Yeah.
after my lady, I would add a few thoughts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure he'll have a better
A
answer.
better. Okay,
My
that's fine.
my answer is, what's your grounding? What keeps you grounded? Is it family? Is it church? Is it God? Is it your psychologist, your therapist? Is it hobbies? Extra curriculum activities, healthy ones, of course, not ones that would destroy you, like debauchery, alcoholism. No, 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 not those ones, but healthy habits or extra curriculum activities. What keeps you grounded as a human being? If you can answer that question, you will have an answer for when you are a young lawyer and you are getting stressed and anxious. Anxiety is real when you are a young lawyer and you are so unsure of so many things. The money is so little. People are saying now you are a lawyer, so people who used to give you money, cry, they'll stop. They won't give you any money again. Even your parents, hey, now you are a lawyer, will not help you again. So there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety, and your stability, your emotional, psychological stability is not something that you should be handling all by yourself. Of course, you can have your meditation, quiet moments, your prayer, and anything that helps you, but you should have someone to lean on. You see, you should have someone to lean on, someone very trusted. It could be your therapist, it could be your psychologist, or your pastor, your priest, your prayer partner, your spouse. Those of you who have loving spouses, supportive spouses, or partners. Yes, those are very good. So you need someone to hold your hand, someone to listen to you at the end of the day, someone to help you unpack all that you've packed during the day. It's very important. And for me, going through what I went through from, I'm 13 years at the bar now, from practice, private practice, all through to the bench, all the trying moments I've suffered on the bench, career-threatening injuries, permanent disability in my right leg because of work. All these things take a toll on your mental health. So how do you keep yourself grounded? I can speak for myself and say that I have a psychologist, I have therapists, I have a supportive partner, I have supportive parents and siblings, a small group of friends, but very reliable. And then, of course, the spirit within me that helps me to, keep going. The spirit that God put within me when He created me. That one. So there needs to be something that grounds you, or some things that ground you. Because the times will be tough. The times will get really tough. I will not kid you. It will get really tough once you are in this field. And it's not just this field, it's just life generally. Marriage, those of you who are not married yet, after law school, if you get married, or during law school, you get married. And then there's reproductive health for the women. Someone like me, pardon me, I have to be a little graphic, but pardon me, I apologize profusely. 6 weeks to the part 1 exam, 6 weeks to part 1 exams, I lost a 14 weeks pregnancy, my first pregnancy. I had to undergo evacuation and then come and learn for the exams. So life will happen. Now, how you overcome all that depends on, thank you very much. It depends on your your strength, your inner strength, and the support system you have. That includes professionals, medical professionals, and it includes your religious professionals, those who are with you to hold you up. I can't promise you that it's going to be easy. Even if it was a bed of roses, roses have thorns, right? So whatever you are going through, and I've spoken with law students who have suffered DVT after giving birth, law students who have lost parents, law students who have lost spouses just before exams or when they are called to the, it's life and it's a happening. But you need to know what keeps you grounded. Because guess what? Life doesn't reward cowardice. Life rewards courage. And this is just one life you have to live. This is it. You are here. You are here already. Are you going to run away? No, you won't run away. You are here. You're living it. So whatever happens, you still need to be grounded. So find solution. I'm a solution-oriented person. When I became permanently disabled on the job because I went to work at the Cape Coast Court Complex, I have titanium implants in my leg because of the court complex, right? I didn't come to join the judicial service disabled, but I got disabled on the work. I used wheelchair for some time. I learned to walk again. Then I had other complications I had to resolve. But what does that mean? That I leave my passion, I stop working, I become depressed and just throw in the towel. Who will reward that? Life? Life doesn't reward that. Life rewards courage. It rewards resilience. You have to keep fighting. You have to keep pushing hard because what is happening to you is happening to other people worse or less. You know, people are also facing difficult things. This is life. Like I said, even if it was a bed of roses, roses have thorns. So whatever comes your way, tell yourself that I will do better. Each day, I will try my best again. I will keep pushing until my last breath. As long as I wrote something on LinkedIn and Facebook today. I made a post. I made a post on LinkedIn and Facebook today. It doesn't matter if you haven't even achieved your set goals for 2025. As long as you are still above ground, you're still breathing, you have health. Even those of us who don't have 100% health, we are still breathing, we are still talking, we are still smiling. Keep giving life your best shot. Tomorrow is another day. We'll try again. So don't give up when the times get tough. Young law student, young lawyer, don't give up. Take it from someone who's been through all these things I've told you. Don't give up. Life doesn't reward cowardice. It rewards courage and resilience. Keep pushing hard. One day you will also be using your life to encourage someone who is finding it difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Even if it's the faintest light, we will still see it. We will thrive. We will strive and we will thrive. You will do well. You see all the lawyers you see around driving in big cars and, flaunting and all that. If they tell you their stories, if they tell you what they went through. So don't you worry. You're not going through things that people have not gone through. It is not a sheep or a chicken that will go through it. It is human beings who go through it. And you are going through yours. And you will overcome. And you will thrive. Okay? Trust me, you will thrive. Don't be afraid. Don't be anxious for anything. Put your request before your God. Put your request before your Allah. Put your request before whoever you believe in. And hold on tight. It will settle down, okay? All right.
Otenewaa, should I continue?
Yes, please.
My lady, I just want to say sorry, but I'm really inspired you. You're such a strong woman. Really strong woman. And I pray that you do very, very great things.
Amen.
Yes. So, with me, I mean, everything my lady has said, how you grounded you are, what grounds you among others. I think those somebody to lean on, somebody to hold your hand. Those are really the perfect things. So she has said all those things, but I would try to go a little more practical. So you're a new lawyer, you're fresh, or maybe as you are, some are in part 1, part 2, you're going to go out of school. Here are some of the things you would want to do. It depends on where you're coming from. Some of us are from rich homes. Some of us are not from very rich homes. Some of us are from very poor homes. Some of us, right now, we don't even know how we're going to pay our fees and all that. Now, depending on where you find yourself, you may just want to start by looking for law firms and where you would fit. So there are law firms that may just be good for you, but probably they are not going to pay you close to nothing at the beginning of your legal career. And if you're from a place where you even struggle to pay your fees, that really means that on the first day you are called to the bar, everybody expects that you're going to do something. Now, when you've been able to find out, you know that these law firms are good, so you can just generally ask around, read around. There are people to tell you, sometimes even court clerks, judges, lawyers, they will tell you these law firms are good. You would also find out if you follow what's going on. You meet some of the lawyers, talk to them. You are going to now get to know, okay, at least any of these 10 law firms would be good for any lawyer to start a legal career. And truthfully, there are certain law firms that are good, but they are not even good for you to start your legal career at. So find out all that. When you've been able to do that, you may want to find out the financials. Be very practical about it. So now, with that, you may find out that there are some law firms, unfortunately, they probably don't give anything to their pupils and interns. There are those two that would do that. Now, you're going to have to compare them and be sure that what are you given for what? So maybe the one that you really want probably gives nothing to pupils. Now, at that point, is that a place for somebody who has struggled to even pay their fees and probably has nothing from the beginning? It may not be, but because you read about a lot of law firms and you found out, you probably have a second or a third one. Maybe the second one gives you, sort of, it meets you halfway. You have seniors who are willing to share. Your seniors who went there can tell you that here you learn a lot, you're exposed to a lot, your early years are going to be great. Maybe the money may not be as good as you would with that mind that you have, but now you get to understand that it gives you that training that you want. Why not apply for that law firm? And why not do it early? Because for a law firm like that, people would want to be there. So when you do that, now you've entered into a space that sort of gives you enough for your upkeep. Now focus. What are you there for? You chose that place because you wanted to learn. Focus. Don't get yourself involved in things that really would not matter. Unfortunately, because of where you're coming from, you may not have the luxury to engage in certain things. Don't let it worry you. Of course, if you are also fortunate to have the money, to have everything, then you may just want to choose a place where you may not be concerned about whether anybody pays you or whether anybody gives you anything. So a lot of this depends on your circumstances. But what is most important is that make sure you are not going to a law firm or you are not starting your career at a place simply because you heard that they pay well. Like, simply, that's the only reason, because you can get in there, they're going to pay you well, it's going to mess up your emotion, mess up your life, and you're going to realize that in 5 years, that step you took may probably have been the worst of it. Because the truth of the matter is, and you're going to realize it, no matter who you are, where you start your practice, there are certain practices, there are certain qualities, there are certain innate things that get exposed depending on where you start your practice. So for instance, I have been a Kimathi & Partners since 2017, even before I was called to the bar. And if I see anybody who has been a Kimathi & Partners for even 6 months, there are certain things I can tell you he picked it from there. Some of them don't even admit, but it is just what it is. So that means that if you make that decision, they are just those things you are going to pick. They're going to be part of you. Yes, you may, if they are not good, you may probably want to take the conscious effort to take them out, but that's going to take a lot of work. So look at all these things holistically. Like I said, start early. There have been instances where people have been called to the bar and they don't know where they are going to do their pupillage. They've not applied anywhere. They are now thinking of applying. Right now, you are not very lucky. So many lawyers are being called at a time. Our law firms are not growing as they should, which means spaces are limited. Our legal departments are not growing as it should. Our economy does not grow as we want it. So that means slots are always limited. So start early, read about them, find out what you need, And then all the other points my lady said, somebody to hold your hand, somebody to lean on, because no matter where you go to, there will be days when you wake up. Even at this point, there are days when I wake up and I don't want to go to the office. I feel like I need an extra thing. But you see, because of what I want and what I know and what I'm passionate about, that's what eventually drives me, because I know that people would still wait for me. People still look up to me. People want things done. I still have to get it. So you are definitely going to go through all those emotional things. Yours, you may be lucky. You may not have to go through any career threatening injuries. You may not have to go through any heartbreaks and all that, but just the work itself, because you're going to have a client send you an email and you want to, pardon my French, I'm not going to use the word, but you want to tell them something that they may not want to hear, because what they are asking you is maybe nonsense, or what they are telling you to do, but that's just what it is. Sometimes you may have advised them, taking your time. Sometimes the whole night, you did an all-nighter trying to get solutions to something, and then the person doesn't read it and comes back a week later to ask something like, dude, did you read what I sent you? But all these things are part of the practice. You are the one who says you are learned. Being learned doesn't just mean you read a lot. It also means you understand the emotional bit. It also means that you have all those soft skills to manage people and do it very well. And those are the things that at a certain level, when you have done 10 years, 15, 20 years, those are the things that are going to count, because at a certain stage, nobody really cares whether you know the law. These days, AI will do it for you. You are going to have juniors who would help you with that and all that. What is going to matter is how well are you able to maintain all these things. There are certain instances where you get on a call. Last week, I got on a call and I was practically fighting with, quote unquote, fighting with the client. And when I say fighting, it wasn't anything. It was as if he was opposing lawyer and I was on the other side, because the guys, the one was an English trained lawyer and the other one is from another place. They know what goes on. So at a point, they were asking me if I was really on their side. But really, that's what it takes. I still had to go ahead. Eventually, they were happy and they understood what I'm doing. So all these things will drain you. So if there's nobody, there's no love around you, no joy, no peace, you are going to fold. So you have to take that very intentionally and then go out there knowing exactly what you want. Of course, life doesn't always go the way we want it. And that's why we have God. And that's why we have something to look up to and believe in, so that you commit it and then you keep pushing. Like my lady said, life does not reward cowardice, but it rewards courage. So you have to face it. And then lastly, have a plan. You may get into the law firm you have dreamt of. That is just the beginning. You see that law firm, things may just change in a year. The managing partner, those in charge, they may change ownership, they may do whatever, and things may change. When it does, what are you going to do? Because you may have thought that you've landed the law firm of your dreams. So now start planning. You came there to learn the things you have to. Build yourself such that in the event that things change or things go in a way that you don't want, you know what to do. You know whether you're applying to another law firm, whether you have to change careers, whether at this point you're doing this. Start planning all those really early and never think that as soon as you landed the law firm of your dreams, you have, as we would say, arrived. No, it's never like that. Even that place that you're going, the managing partner or the head of whatever that you're taking, he doesn't even feel like he has arrived. How much more you, who is now coming to learn the ropes of the profession? So that's what you have to do. Oh, someone is asking me, what joy do I have around me? I have God and I have a very beautiful wife. So she always gives me that joy. On that note, I think maybe Justice would continue.
Abdulai.
Oh, before you continue, the sisterhood is very proud of Amoah's wife. We are very proud of her. She's
Yeah.
doing well for us.
Yeah. So, this particular.
So,
Okay, please go on.
right. I'm not sure I've much useful thing to add except my experience as a young lawyer 13 years ago. In fact, I was in between 4 different law firms at the same time. Literally, I was dictating where I wanted to be because everybody, needed a people, and I'll go here for a week, and then I get another offer. I'll go there for a week. I go another place, and I was literally running around multiple law firms. 13 years later, the story is completely different. Today, you don't have the same level of luxury I had to have 5 different law firms working with. Today, even getting one is a dream. And so it is good to take the advices from Danso and Milady. It's good to research, attempt to be where you want to be. But it's not all that rosy out there. You are likely not to get even your first 10 on your list. Even your first 50 law firms on your list, you may not even get one. This is the reality. And where you are lucky to have your 100th option, chances are that they will not give you anything if they accept you. This is a reality that you'll be confronted with. And so when they tell you that the law is good and that you make all the money and all of that, please remember, it's not entirely true. This is what you're going to face, particularly your first year or thereabout. I remember when we were called to the bar, they told us that we should wait. It takes about 3 years, between 3 years and 5 years, if you've not built your first house and you do not have your first 2 cars, then you may probably have to start asking yourself some questions. Today, I think the story is completely different because even getting a place to do your pupillage is a huge challenge. So until you're done with your pupillage, your days have not started counting. And so if you're waiting for your 5th year to have your breakthrough or your 3rd year to get your biggest breath, you may probably have to hold on a bit because getting a firm is a huge maze on its own today. And so please be prepared and get yourself ready that it is possible. In fact, forget about possibility, that your chances are that you're going to be confronted with a situation where you might not get a law firm even for the next 1 year or thereabout. Be ready for that. Such that if it turns out that yours becomes the opposite, then you know that you are arguably among one of the luckiest few. The second angle, if you get a firm that accepts you and ready to give you 1,000 cedis, that's the average that people get these days, average of 1,000 cedis. I mean, the maximum you get will be 2,000. If you get that, then you are not only lucky, but you are probably the most blessed within your group. And so these are the stark, darkest realities out there today. Don't think that because you become a lawyer, you get called to the bar in somewhere 3rd or 4th of October next year. Automatically, the floodgate of Bank of Ghana will be open for you to start swimming in money. This is not the world out there. The world out there is that you are now going to be living poorer than you used to be while as a student because all the support systems that you used to have will be taken away from you. If your parents, if your friends used to support you, all those support systems will be taken away because now you're a lawyer. And the unfortunate part is that you're not only a lawyer, but you are a poor lawyer, very poor lawyer. Those who are already with some forms of employment, yes, their story is a little different because they are able to cushion themselves from what they do. And so my advice, somebody's asking me, so what's my advice? My advice is simple. Be ready for this and weather the storm. Get ready. Take it. Whatever you get, just take it. If it is in line with what you want to do. For instance, if you want to be in litigation and you get a law firm that can train you properly train you, accept it regardless of the difficulties that you face because your real days are ahead of you after the proper training. If your aspirations are in line with anything that comes your way by way of a particular law firm accepting you or the other, I think you may have to shelve some of your dreams of maybe getting one cedi or the other. Even if you are as poor as I was when I was in your shoes. Be ready to accept what is out there. Because if you're looking out for a firm that will pay you, maybe, just maybe, you may not be lucky to get that. And so don't be discouraged by these dangers out there. Don't feel let down by all these things. Rather be encouraged in the fact that if you get the appropriate training, the life out there afterwards is better. So sacrifice is my advice to you. Sacrifice, gain the certificate, learn as much as you can. Learn and learn well from the firm that you might be luckier to accept you with or without any money. And know that after that learning curve, you have the world out there to bless you with all the goodies in them. Because in this profession, your quality would determine to a large extent how much you bring home at the end of the day. If you don't produce quality, if you don't offer quality services, you might be lucky because we don't advertise. Somebody will come and then you may be able to get something from that person. However, that same person will be the one to sell you out. That this lawyer, oh, no. He's not a good lawyer. As for this place, don't go there. Because we don't advertise. That is how, because we don't advertise, it is the reason why your quality and your conduct and your interpersonal relationship would largely determine how far you go or how or do not go. And so please be mindful of the pieces of advice from Danso and Milady on your conduct, your interpersonal relationship, the cutting edge solutions you provide, among other things, because ultimately they will determine the length of your trip in this journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdulai. So we will take closing words now. So I'll just go around all
Sorry,
the
someone
panel.
is asking me whether the 1,000 cities for a day or a week. Indeed, the 1,000 cities is for a month. And even that is what people are struggling to get. So don't think, in fact, you'll be paid less than a people's teacher if you're luckier to be paid at all. Otherwise, you may not get anything at all. So get ready for it. In the academia, you are, depending on whether you're in the private sector, chances are that you get about 3,000 or maximum is 4,000 in the private sector. If you are in the public universities, that is much different. But remember, in the public universities, you need a minimum of your LLM if you're going to the law faculty, or otherwise you have to have a master's, depending on the faculty that you are entering. And that is much better. You could get as much as, I think a minimum of 8,000, thereabout. If you're a lecturer, you're likely to be employed as assistant lecturer, and between 6,000 and 8,000 as assistant lecturer, which is about 2,000-3,000 Ghana cedis more than you would have had if you were in the private sector. And of course, you also get additional benefits in the public sector. There's something called BRA, Book and Research Allowance, at the end of the year, which is about 40,000 cedis for free anyway. And so if you took my lady's advice, those monies, some universities also give you additional support systems if you publish a lot, as Milady was advising you. So in the academia, you get extra benefits for publishing as well. So if you are, these are the monies that are put out there. So if you see anybody teaching, he's not a rich boy. In fact, he cannot even have a side chick, unless the side chick is so generous, because it's a very poor profession. But for the law faculties, because you are a lawyer and you are teaching there, so you have more or less you are double working. So you get your real money from your private practice, and then you make impacts on other people's children in the faculties, and so, but not to make any money, because the amount of money you make as a lecturer is not even up to your senior's consultation fee at the law firm. Your senior may consultation fee about 10,000 cedis. And that is your whole month of teaching. That's how much you're making for the whole month. And a bail application before me lady may get you even 20,000 cedis. And that's just about 30 minutes work for a bail application. And so point is that depending on how good you do this, you eventually reap the benefit. But for your first year, 2, 3, be realistic about your expectations. You may not be able to even keep one side check. In fact, you may not even be able to keep a check to even think of a side. You will literally be struggling to support yourself. And so don't be, wearing your suit and tie and be deceiving people that you're a lawyer. They'll come home and see that you're a lawyer, but with nothing at home. Absolutely nothing. In fact, you are likely to be sleeping by your mom. This is the reality. I need to paint this to you. Just be genuine and be honest about it. Wherever you're sleeping today may be more luxurious than the place you'll be sleeping when you eventually become a lawyer. Because you have no support systems at all, as I told you. Today, maybe you may be in a hostel paid for by your parents. Once you become a lawyer, if they don't move you out of the hostel, you are likely to be sleeping with them because there's no other place for you. And you may not have enough money to rent a space for 2,000, 3,000 cedis a month because whatever you are paid may not even be enough of that. So be realistic about your expectation. Be guided and come here knowing that you're going to struggle for the next 3 years. If you're luckier and yours gets curtailed midway and you make something good, so be it. And I didn't need to say this, but the reality is that our ladies suffer the most in this profession. Chances are that the client that approaches you doesn't like you, he doesn't trust you because she thinks you're a lady, so you're not good enough. You can't be that vociferous, that assertive. He doesn't have confidence in your ability, particularly for litigation. Maybe when it comes to writing or other things, like what Dansu does in his law firm, corporate practice. Those ones, the clients are comfortable. They are okay with meeting a lady. But in litigation, you'd come to realize that it is not a place for the average lady. It takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of work to be in that space for a lady. And so you can literally count that less than 10% of the ladies who you graduate with will remain in private practice, particularly in litigation. Less than 10% will remain there because it's not easy. Almost every lady that is in practice, chances are that 80% of them will be with the Attorney General's office, but whether you lose or win, nobody cares really. And so you are pampered. But in private practice, you'll be insulted, you'll be heckled, you'll be called names and all kinds of things. These are the stark realities of legal practice out there. This may not be part of the subject of our discussions, but once you have called me here to talk, I need to paint these dark realities to you. Know where you are heading and make a choice whether you want to remain there or you want to carve another way out for yourself. Luckily for you, as Danso said, this is a window to the entire world. The license you get at the end of the day is a window to everything out there in the world. And so if you are lucky to be called, maybe you probably have to start thinking of where to go, not to go. But this is it. Be prepared for it.
Thank you, Mr. Abdulai. That is very eye-opening. So I'll just take closing words. I'll start with my lady. In one word or in one sentence, the future-ready lawyer is, or alternatively, what's one thing you would want those listening to walk away with today as regards their becoming a future-ready lawyer?
Before I come to that, the chat box is fire. You should read what's happening.
I'll give an opportunity for questions. So
they're just commenting on, it's like they're having a rude awakening. What Justice said, people are waking up. Nobody told them about this aspect of the profession. Yeah, and the chat box is fine. But it's true. Justice is telling the truth. Yeah, for ladies, it's more difficult. Private practice is more difficult. Sometimes it's the closing hours. Like Danso will testify in his law firm, they don't close very early. So,
Yeah,
if you're a
there's even a
lady,
question on that, so maybe.
if you're a lady and you are married, imagine what your husband is going to go through if you have to close late in a law firm that the earliest they close is 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. How is that marriage going to survive? If you are trying to have babies, how are you going to go about it? I mean, and if you have babies, how are you going to take care of your babies with that kind of working? Oh yeah, 10 p.m. That kind of working hours, those kinds of working hours. It's difficult for women. So that's why the women, you need to make up your mind as to which of the paths you take. Those of us who are family oriented, we picked the bench. The bench is very good for family oriented women because you plan your time very well. At least the latest you close is 4 p.m. Most of the work done is done at home in your study. You are writing judgments and rulings, you are doing research, and you can do that at home in your study. You just let your family know that these times you are locked up, you are working. But at least you don't have to close at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. You see, and then he mentioned the Attorney General's office, government. When you work for the government as a woman too, you're able to combine your legal profession with family life. So as for the women, you should speak to the female judges and lawyers before you decide on what to do. That being said, the future lawyer, the future ready lawyer is one did you say in one word? How do we
In
box the
in
future ready lawyer in one word?
in one sentence, something like
In one sentence.
a
A
punch
punch.
line, something, anything.
Okay. The future ready lawyer is one who is willing to learn and contribute to the evolution of the law in the country. That's the future ready lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll take Mr. Amoah, please.
Okay, before I go to my punch, as he said, I don't know whether I think there was a question that said that what our closing hours and how an intern can juggle that with academic work. How do I do this? I just think that for most of these things, it's how you are able to manage your time. Right. So because our closing time right now is 9 p.m. and it applies to interns and everybody really. So that if you're doing, I think now you do 2 days at the law firm and 3 days in school, something along those lines. Maybe I'm not correct, but that's something along those lines. That really means that for those 2 days, you sort of, your day is not yours, technically. And then the other days they are yours. So if you are aware of this, it just means that you have to plan very well. The other thing too is that at the end of the day, so for instance, in my team, I understand some of these challenges. I have gone through this and I appreciate it. There will be days where you can tell me that you need to do this from school, and I'll just willingly say, go ahead and get it done. But all these things come about when you're able to communicate. And when I also know that I can rely on you. So for instance, I ask you that for today, you have work from school. How is your exam going? It's not going well. Just focus on your exam and learn. Now, there are those days that, for instance, you're on break or whatever, and you don't have to do it. And you're giving something and it appears as if the output, the seriousness, the whatever is not what you should be doing. Then you don't give me the trust to understand that you can always be allowed to do whatever you want to do. So it's all about first trying to manage your time. Second, understanding who you're working with and how to go about it. A lot of these things. So maybe they would say, oh, they go to work at this time, they close at this time. There are some of the people in my team, I'm the one who calls them and say that I saw the time he sent the email. don't come to work immediately. Make sure you are done with this. But I would only call you to tell you that if I know that you actually are the person that I can rely on, if I know that as you are wherever you decide to go, when I ask you not to come early, if I need something and I call you, I won't now be found wanting because I decided to allow you to do whatever you want to do. So a lot of these things, yes, that is what it is. That is the law firm we have met, and that's how. But most of these things boil down to how are you going about the work? How are you doing it? There are instances where I wake up and then I get to work at 10 a.m. That's not when I'm supposed to get to work. But everybody I work with understands that if I'm getting to work at 10 a.m., at 7, if they needed me to do something, I would have been available to get the thing done. And probably if I'm getting to work at 10 a.m., it means I did some work into the night, into 12 and all that. And for our place, one of the reasons why these things work is also that we deal a lot with clients that are all over the place. Some in Singapore, some in China. So sometimes it's 12 hours, sometimes 8 hours, sometimes 9 hours, sometimes even agreeing on a call because somebody is sitting in Singapore, you are sitting in Ghana, another one is in Kenya, and the last person is maybe in the United States. United States to Ghana is 4 or 5 hours, sometimes 7. From here to... So now if you look at all that, it just means that you are looking at a certain, so sometimes the most available time to even have a call to discuss certain things with all these people is 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. It's just the nature of the work. So like has been said, you may just want to check all these things. Will these really align with your goals and how you want to get things done? If not, it is not the place for you. And I have had conversations with a few people where I've told them that if you come to our law firm, you would leave in less than a month. And there's an instance where somebody left in 24 hours. This was a person I had spoken to, and he thought I was just exaggerating and trying to. I was telling him that I know your personality, it won't work for you. Not that you are lazy, it's just what it is. He comes and after the first day, he tells me he won't come back the following day. And there are instances where there are people I've met, I'm like, you would be such a good fit, a great fit for the firm because of how you are, how you want your things done, you want to work in the night, all those things. So it's just a lot. But one very beautiful thing to which no law firm actually does, or if I'm wrong, maybe somebody, is that maternity leave is 6 months in our law firm. So aside all these things, that's just how it is. So it's a balance. Is it for you? If you're a young lady, as you're single and doing what? Do you want to do long hours? Do you want to juggle it? If you go and have a child, you have 6 months to stay. And even that's 6 months. Afterwards, if you have complications or if you are not in the mood, because sometimes to come back, you may be allowed to work from home and all that. Those things. So you look at it. Will it work for you? Is that really something you want? If it is not, then you just find another place and then you get it done. So that's just briefly how you look at it. Now, back to my question about future ready lawyer. I think the future ready lawyer should be one that embraces change, is willing to develop new skills, and has a mindset that makes them want to continuously learn.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Amoah. Then finally, I'll take Mr. Abdulai.
All right. Sorry. Thank you. I don't know what changed. Maybe because I said all the wrong things. But I have to be honest with you. I have not been as realistic as I need to be because the realities are more scarier than painted. Yeah. But I think Danso was right with the timing and all of that. But most law firms, I remember my encounter with a colleague who was so not prepared for a case. I mean, he was on the opposite side. And guess what? Because he had come to the office, a different law firm, of course, around 5 a.m. and he was late. At 5 a.m. he was late. The previous day he had closed around 12 a.m. and apparently it looks like he was the first to close. And this is just a law firm. Now, and this encounter is such a normal encounter because in our law firm, we are quite flexible. In fact, I think most law firms have the same experience. There's no closing time, there's no reporting time. Most law firms in Ghana operate with that, particularly for litigation, because of the nature of the work. You could have an emergency, or you could have a deadline by milady that you have to file a process by a specified time. And so until you're done, if you are supposed to file it by tomorrow, and as of today you're not done, you have to finish before you leave the office. That's how most law firms operate. So until you're done, you are not closing. So there's no closing time for you to say that I have a husband or I have a wife or I have somebody that I have to go and give a peck to or a case before I sleep. I mean, there's nothing like that. Your case has to be on the process that you're preparing. Case that process before you leave. And if you don't case it well, you probably have to answer for not casing it appropriately. And so this is how most law firms operate. You may come at 12 noon if that is what time. I mean, that's what the time you're supposed to come. But remember, you could also leave the next morning if need. I mean, if need be. I mean, we do it all the time. And so most law firms would have places of convenience that that you may sleep, or restrooms for attending to nature and all of that, just for the purposes of closing late or coming extremely earlier, 5 a.m. and thereabout. So these things exist, but just they are not impossible for anyone to do anyway. That's how we met our seniors doing it, and our seniors doing, and we are also following the same suit. And so you could also be compelled to go through the same thing, whether a man or a woman. Just be ready for it. With regards to what makes, a future lawyer is simply a prepared lawyer. That is, my take on that. And I believe with that, I can say a very good evening to all of you.
Okay, I would like to say a very, 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 very big thank you to you all. Personally, I have learned so much. And then I believe that my fellow listeners have also learned a lot. I would want to take questions, but we are so behind on time. If anyone wants to ask questions, I'm happy to take 2 questions, then we'll wrap it up. If not, I am going to end. Okay, so I can see one hand. That's Michael Amede. Please unmute and speak.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Am I audible?
Yes, please, you are.
Okay, I think it's been an interesting evening session. We've enjoyed listening to our esteemed speakers taking us through the journey at the bar. I was particularly fascinated by the session by her ladyship, especially on route memorization. I think I had the opportunity to read that article from her, and I thought it was a brilliant expose. And I think it is important that we all join in that advocacy, right from the faculty level up to the professional level, that we should cease this quest for rote memorization and rather build residual knowledge. Because personally, I feel writing the entrance exams this year, one of the things that helped me go through successfully was ability to build residual knowledge. I feel the law shouldn't be seen as an event. It's a process. Things that you learn every day and apply. So if you're only learning to sit down and you only get serious during exam time and learn and go and write, then you are not preparing yourself to be a future lawyer. Because me, for one of the things that helped me in the entrance exams is a lot of the questions are things I've been reading every day. So I had them at my fingertips. So when the need arose for you, you can easily reproduce it. But if you resort to rote memorization, sometimes when it twists the question a little bit, you become confused. So I think it's a good thing that her ladyship is trumpeting, and it is important that we all join that advocacy. Because I remember when we were at the faculty, I remember first constitutional law. Our constitutional law lecturer used to allow us to take constitution inside the exams hall. But at a point, the HOD had to stop her because he thought that thing was alien. You can't allow students to go to the exams hall with the constitution. And I think her main motive was that apply what it is in the constitution, not giving you the chance to copy, apply what is in it. But our system is not used to that. I think it's something that we all need to join hands and advocate for it so that we see some real changes in that space. And also, secondly, Mr. Abdulai spoke about some of the groundbreaking cases he's done at the Supreme Court and the challenges that came with it. And because, for instance, I just want to say that those of us who are students, for instance, have some two issues that have been agitating my mind for some time that I feel it is important. Maybe one day one gathers the courage to test the waters at the court. But at the same time, you ask yourself, given the environment you find yourself, you're in the law school now, how do you navigate that path? I mean, because Mr. Abdullah spoke about the fact that he sometimes receives a lot of backlash because he dared to challenge the status quo. Especially we live in a country where you dare not challenge an individual, you dare not challenge an institution. They will do everything but possible to bring you down. So, for instance, one of the things that agitates my mind is I don't understand why, after precedents in cases like Awuni versus Waik, we have the Ghana School of Law making students sign a declaration form that you finish entrance exams and you don't have the right to see your score. It sometimes beats my imagination. So things like that. Sometimes if you see the environment you find yourself, even though you may wish to take it up, but you also be careful. So when you find yourself in such a situation, how do you gather the necessary courage to navigate that path? If any of they can take it up and explain a bit further, I'll be happy. Thank you.
And before that, I would want us to take the last question, then everything is answered together so we can wrap it up. So I'll take Elizabeth Adai, but please keep it brief and straight to the point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would want to thank my lady for the insight that she gave into writing. I have always loved to write, but I feel like I don't know what to write about. I mean, everything you said spoke so directly to me. Sometimes I feel like I don't even, my English is not even that good to write. What am I going to write? So thank you so much. You spoke to me. My question is about specialization. I would want to know from our seniors and my lady at the bar and bench the areas that the areas that can be exploited, because my question is coming from the background of now a lot of LLM people are doing LLM. In fact, some people even take the 1 year time, especially when they do not get admission into the professional law course. So it has become like everybody is doing almost the same thing, corporate and commercial law, international law here and there. I do not want to fall into the pool. Some of us, I know somebody will say that do what is something that is of interest to you. Unfortunately for some of us, a lot of things are of interest to us. I love company law. I think criminal law is fascinating. ADR, I've come to love ADR. So it is all over in my mind. So please, since you people are the practitioners and on the field, is there a certain guidance that you kindly give to us when it comes to specialization and going by something that is not not just following the bandwagon that everybody is doing this, so we also do that. Thank you so much.
My lady, please, would you like to take Elizabeth's question?
Yes, let me take Elizabeth's question. So when it comes to specialization, you took the words out of my mouth. Do what you love, what you enjoy, because you have to enjoy what you're doing. So don't go and do what you don't love. But for someone like you who loves many things, it means that you should do many things. You should do them. There's nothing stopping you. Is there a limit to acquiring knowledge? There's never a limit to acquiring knowledge. So when I decided to not that I decided, when, I got well enough to go back to school, the first course I wanted to read was International Criminal Law and Justice, and nobody even understood why. I said, no, I've been watching the news, I've been watching these movies. During my time of illness, I used to watch the documentaries, World War II, World War One, and, it piqued my interest, and I felt like, oh, I want to know what international criminal law is about. And when I started studying it at Gimpa, it opened the door to a new world for me. That's how I was able to visit the ICC, the ICJ, the Peace Palace, and see all these things. And it's a new world. Now, apart from that, I am International Criminal Law and Justice LLM. The next time I'm going to do another LLM or even the PhD, it might be something different because I have so many interests. Why should that be ruled against me? If I'm someone with a variety of interests, it means my mind is colorful and I want to do everything. I want to taste of everything. So my dear units, taste of commercial law, international law, taste of ADR, taste of international human rights, taste of ICLJ, international criminal law and justice, do everything. One day when it is time for you to, focus on one of them, the path will be clear. If you haven't tasted of the different stews, how are you going to know which one your taste bud enjoys? So don't worry if you want to taste as many as you can. This one is not relationships that somebody will come and say you are being naughty. No. This is knowledge. Taste of everything. Okay? So I expect you to read about 3 LLMs before your PhD and, join academia. Do everything. Oh, I'm rooting for you. Do everything. Do all of it.
Thank you so much, my lady. Mr. Abdulai, please, I'm not sure I got Michael's question. It was pretty lengthy, but if there's anything you'd want to say in respect of his submission, I'm happy to take it. If not, I'll just wrap it up and then we would end the
I
session.
think we've spent three hours. I think that's
Yes.
enough.
Okay.
We cannot play it all.
Okay.
I have a lot of responses, but there's no point.
Okay.
We cannot
So,
spend 3 hours on the
sure,
terminal
that's fine. Okay. So, on behalf of the Student Representative Council of the Ghana School of Law, I'd want to say a very big thank you to my panelists. I personally have learned so much, and I believe that my colleagues have also benefited so much from your depth of experience. Thank you for giving us your time, and we will definitely walk away with the lessons that you have shared with us. Please do enjoy the rest of your evening, and then I would make snippets of the points that we learned, and I'll share them with you and also with the rest of the students. And I'll also share recording because most people were not able to join. So thank you once again. Please have a good evening, and may God
Good
richly
evening
bless
and
you
good
for your
night.
time. Thank you.
Have a blessed week, everybody. All
You
the
as well.
best.
Bye.
God
Bye-bye.
bless you.
Bye. God
Bye,
bless you.
everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Danso, thank you.